So for the past few weeks, I've been spending all of my spare time working on this camping trailer build that I've got going on. This is a 2025 5x8 cargo trailer, and my plan is to convert this into a tiny off-road style camping trailer. I want it to be really unique, so I'm adding some really cool features like a fireplace, a rear kitchen, and I'm even working on a hatch that goes through the ceiling into the rooftop tent from the inside of the trailer, which is really unique. It's something that I wanted to make sure that I incorporated into this build because I don't think I've ever seen it done before. And I've been using, like I said, all of my spare time lately working on this and slowly converting it. So hopefully by this spring we'll be ready to actually take this out and use it. And this week is going to be an update video on the progress. It's winter here, so I've got it pulled inside and I'm working on it any chance that I get inside my basement. All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. Now, I do want to address one thing right out of the gate. This video, the lighting is going to be absolutely horrible because if you can't tell, we are in my basement. It is very cold outside. I think this weekend is going to be down into the teens here in Alabama. And I squeezed this back in after the last video where I updated you guys on the hole that I cut for the hatch to get into the tent. And I moved it in here since then, and I've been doing a lot of upgrades, and that's what today's video is going to be about. I've made a lot of progress. I've got a lot of stuff done, and we're slowly getting to the point where I'll be able to push this back outside and we're going to reinstall the tent. Hopefully that's not going to be anytime soon because I'd rather get as much done in here as possible where I can run a heater and stay warm throughout the week and get, you know, the camper built as much as I can in here before we go back out. But just bear with me. I'm going to show you guys all the upgrades. The lighting is just going to be horrible. It is what it is. We're in a basement. So this is our storage room of our house. So there's also junk everywhere that I'm having to work around. But this is better in here than me freezing to death outside while I'm building this thing this winter. So first, I want to show you guys, I want to go over how I sealed up the hole. I've got that completely done. Well, almost completely done. I'll show you how far we got with it. I got a lot of questions in last week's video about you wanted to see how I was going to seal the roof after I was done. I'll go over that today's video. I actually cut another huge hole in the roof this week for the Max Air fan. I got it installed, and I've got 2 more holes to cut in the roof before we completely seal it up and it's ready for the tent to go back on. And I'm also going to be cutting another huge hole in the front of the camper, or right off the nose of the camper. We're going to be adding an AC unit, and I'm going to have to cut another really big hole, but I'm going to go over how I'm going to do that. And at the same time, I'm going to keep it hidden so you really don't know there's an AC there until it's time to use it. I think it'll be a really unique way to incorporate an air conditioner into this. And the kitchen, as you can see, the sink is in. I'm going to go over that with you. Whole lot of updates in today's video. Just bear with me for the footage because I know that I'm working with a bunch of these. This is how I've been building this whole camper. My studio filming lights are coming in clutch for me to be able to actually see to get the work done down here in the basement. So let me show you where we're at. So first we'll start with the roof and the big hatch that I showed you guys last week. From the inside, you can see that I've got it completely walled in now. This is 1/16 stainless steel. It's an old bench top that I had. I was actually able to cut it up and seal it up from the outside. I wanted to show you the inside before I climb up. So this is built, as you seen last week, out of 1x1. It's the same 1x1 that I'm framing this entire trailer with. I did the kitchen, the walls, everything up front. You can see I got the fireplace in. I'll show you in a minute. I've got the front nose bench built. This is where the bench top is going to go with the TV and then the AC on this wall. But I used the same stuff to frame everything, and I did the same thing for this hatch. And the plan is this is going to have insulation, and it's going to be walled to match the ceiling. So the ceiling is going to flow through here, and it's just going to flow up through here. And then, of course, the opening is going to lead directly into the tent. Now, let me show you from the outside what it looks like and how I've got it completely sealed off now. All right, so this is a weird shot, I know, but this is the best way I can show you how I've done this. So this is the outside of the hatch, or the new box that we just installed. And you can see this white goop all over the place. This is actually RV rooftop sealant. It's the same stuff I use when I put these Billy Bars mounts in. I'm not sure if you can see them in this clip, but all this roof rack from Billy Bars we installed, I used the same sealant. And what I did was I used the sealant on all of the 1x1 frame. This was just a big box that was sticking out I showed you last week. And I put the sealant around the whole thing, and then I stuck the siding on. This is really thick 16th inch siding. I got it on, and then I went back over it with, that is 1 inch angle aluminum, and I sandwiched more of the sealant in there. This is also 1 inch angle aluminum, and it's sealed. So the 1 inch angle aluminum is sealed to the ceiling and the wall, and it's completely filled with that stuff, and it's on all 4 corners. So this is completely sealed now from any weather getting in from this far down. Of course, this is going to be open where the tent is. And the plan is I've got a gallon of rubber coating for RV roofs. It'll be here this week, and once this is completely done, I've got all of the holes cut that I'm going to put in here. I've got 2 more in the back corner that I'm going to cut in for the, I can't remember what they're called. There's for wires come in through roofs of RVs. I've got 1 I'm going to put in each corner because I'm going to have power up here for the rooftop tent and for the lights and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure that I got an access port to get wires up and down, and they'll remain sealed off. Once I cut those in and I get them installed, I'm going to do it the same way that I did this and the fan up front that I'll show you in just a minute. Once that's done, I'm going to scuff this whole roof down. So this roof is, let's see if I can show you a little bit better. This roof is just kind of like a stainless steel thin top, and it's sealed really good when it was made at the factory because it was just one solid piece. But now that I've added these holes from these brackets, I've got all these holes drilled in here and sealed off. I'm going to scuff this down, and I'm going to completely coat this entire top. And let me spin around here and I can show you. Here's the nose of it. Here's that other big hole that I told you guys I just cut. This is a 14 by 14. I keep calling it a Max Air fan, but it's really just a knockoff version off Amazon. And this is also going to be hidden by that big cover that I showed you in last week's video, that big Max Air fan black cover. I actually got the brackets already bolted onto it. Everything is completely sealed off from it, but I'm just going to go even one step further with that RV coating, and it's going to completely seal this whole roof up, all the way up the walls. I know these are horrible shots, but I'm trying to show you this wall that I built around the box. I'm going to run that coating all the way up it too. So it's going to be completely covered, sealed off in white. It's going to look really good. The really cool thing about building a tiny camper or a tiny trailer like this is you can use good stuff, and it's not going to cost that much more than using cheap stuff. What I mean is like to coat a normal RV, the rubber rooftop RV coating that I ordered, it takes several gallons and it costs several hundreds of dollars to do. Since this is a 5x8 trailer, the square footage that I'm covering up here is very small, and I can actually get by with 1 gallon of it. So it's only going to cost me $60 to do a really high quality double coat rubber coating on this roof, which is great. And you'll see that I'm going to go that same direction when I start doing the interior. Since there's barely any square footage, I can do an expensive floor, and it's not going to be that much more than a cheap floor because there's only so much of it being gone up. And then even for the walls, I can use expensive stuff for the walls, expensive stuff for the ceiling, and it's not going to be that expensive because there's not much of it being used. So anyway, I hope this addressed how I'm going to seal these big holes. I know a lot of you guys were really concerned. As for the top where the tent connects, let me show you. So the top right here, see, I'm standing on the bed frame down here, but the top, this is where the tent's going to connect. And as you can see, it is a little high, and I haven't finished this where we're going to be sealing. I've got to go back and grind down some of these lips that are still poking up because this has to be completely flush when the tent sits on it. But these are the holes that I drilled. I told you last week before I removed the tent, I squared the tent up and got it bolted where it goes, and I drilled straight through the tent into here, and I've got stainless steel riv nuts that are going to go in these holes, and there's 3 on each side all the way around. And when the tent sits back down on here, I'm going to have a gasket that sits here, and that gasket's going to go all the way around, and I'm going to be able to get by with just like a regular window gasket. It doesn't have to be anything fancy because the tent sits so tight up against this, and when I bolt it on with that gasket, it's going to completely weather tight this, not to mention it's upside down on the bottom of a tent. So the odds of any kind of water getting in over this lip through a gasket in between this tight seal is going to be really hard to do, if impossible probably. But I'm gonna have it completely sealed up with a gasket on top of this. I got stainless steel hardware that's gonna bolt straight into the rib nuts here through the tent, and it's gonna clamp it down really good. And then this will be a nice, good looking wall. This will be insulated as well as the walls, the floor, the roof, everything's gonna get a good insulation. So we won't be losing any type of air or heat or anything like that through this opening. Now, as for the front sleeping area, so you guys know the bed's gonna be here, and I've went over it probably a million times in these videos. Bed here, countertop right here. I'm gonna stain it to look really good. Our TV is gonna go on this wall, which is gonna kind of be perfect. So if you're laying here, the TV is gonna be angled just right so you can watch TV. I've got the countertop going here and the AC's here, and then that fireplace that I showed you guys last week goes here. And I've just got it sitting in right now. Let me pull it out and show you how I framed it. So this is how I framed it. It actually fits this hole perfect now. It's got the brace. There's 2 mounting points on the bottom, you can see right here. And that's why I built this kick brace out in the back. Everything is welded up. So there'll be riv nuts in here and riv nuts up the side of this, so this will actually sit into place, bolt on, and it can't move. Once this is mounted, the wall goes in over it, and the wall is actually going to be flush with the fireplace, like right in here. And the plan is I'm going to use that fake stone that's out now. It's like a if you picture a brick that's cut in half, or slit down the middle. It's just a fake brick. They don't weigh anything. They're made out of foam, I think, but you can put them on with a nail gun. I'm going to fake brick around this. I'm going to fake brick up this wall, fake brick up this wall, and then I'm going to stain this top almost like a mantle. It's going to look really nice. And that fake brick is expensive, but since we're only doing this little bit, I could probably get by with just 1 box of it. So it's actually not going to be that expensive for me to do it all. The rest of the camper is going to get probably regular walls. I'm debating on doing a cedar ceiling. I may just do a white ceiling to keep it feeling bigger in here because it is going to get small really fast once these walls start going up. But I'm almost done cutting holes in the wall. Let me slide this over so it don't fall. Set that there. I've got this hole cut in. Let me walk around here and show you. If you remember last week, I told you guys that, or I think I didn't get to show you, but I can show you now because it arrived. I went over how I'm going to be getting air and heat from the inside of the trailer up to the tent, and that was with some things that I found on Amazon. Well, those things showed up, and you can see the tight space that I'm working with in here in my basement right now. But you'll get to see it better once we get outside. I'll try to show you now. So here's that thing that I ordered, and it's magnetic. Here's going to be the opening. I got it going through, and then this, when we get to camp, will pop right there. I'm going to have the longer black hose that I use, and then this is just going to go straight up to the tent. How cool is that? I think it's going to work out great, and then it's going to be completely covered just like that. And then, we'll have heat and AC straight up to the rooftop tent. I've got an idea on how I'm going to keep this hidden and covered. Instead of 3D printing something, I think I'm going to go a different route. That way we can keep it weather sealed and I don't ride around, with a big hole that leads in. And my plan for that is I'm going to do it kind of the same way that you've seen me done in the past with these other trailer builds, where I use those Harbor Freight boxes and I mount the box on the outside of the trailer, and the box looks like just a storage box on the outside, but it's actually bolted and sealed on. And then I'll have a door to open up to access that hole to pop everything on. And I might even be able to put a big enough box over it that I can store the hose and everything in. If that makes sense, hopefully you guys can picture what I'm saying. It'll make more sense as I'm building it. I'm going to do that for a few things across the front of this. So the air conditioner for this, I wanted to go a traditional route, like a regular wall unit, and I'm going to put it through this side right here. This wall on the inside is where the TV hangs, and then this wall is going to be where the AC comes out. So I've got one more big hole to cut in the camper, and it's going to be right here. The AC is going to hang out the front just a little bit, and it's not a big AC. Let me show it to you. I got it in this week. There's the air conditioner we're going with. Look at my mess in here still. But there's the air conditioner we're going with. It's a regular GE wall unit air conditioner. It's gonna work out great. It's not very heavy and it's super small. And when it's mounted, from here out is all that's gonna stick out. And I'm gonna hide that the same way that I just talked about, that I'm gonna hide the vent on the other side. I'm gonna use a box, kind of like, here's an example kind of how I use these boxes. So this is the style box that I'm talking about. It's just gonna be much bigger, obviously. But this box, if you picture a bigger box, is gonna be mounted to the outside of the trailer. It's almost gonna look like a storage box out there, kind of like one of these big guys right here. And it's going to be mounted on the outside, completely sealed off. But then when we get to camp and say we want to run our AC, I'll have a big box like this mounted on the front of the camper. I'll just walk around and we'll open it up. And when we open it up, it'll allow the AC to be able to breathe, and then we'll be able to run it on the inside with no problem, keeping the condensation and stuff like that out. The same is going to go for the vent on the other side, which I got that vent in. This is the one that is going to pump the air that I showed you guys that I picked up on Amazon. It is going to mount right here in the wall. I know it's hard to see in here, guys, but it's going to stick out right here. It's going to be flush mounted to the wall. And then I'm going to have a switch on the wall. That plug I'm going to cut. It's going to be wired into all the regular wiring. And I'm going to have a switch that you flip a switch, and it starts pumping the air from the inside of the tent through that tube, the inside of the camper through that tube up to the tent. So if we're running heat, it's going to pump heat up there. If we're running AC, it's going to run AC up there, that's going to work great. And this was only like 30 bucks, which is, if it works, it's going to be a really genius move. I'm really proud. Yeah, I'll be really proud if that works out the way that I'm thinking it's going to work out. All we got to do now is just get the AC mounted, and then we can start with actual sealing everything up and putting insulation in on these walls. And while I'm up here, I can give you guys a better look at the fan that we installed. You can kind of see an overview of the roof right here. And I got everything sealed up really good. So that rubber coating is sealing in between here. I put a good thick coat up, and there's a little crank knob inside here that opens and shuts that. And that's what's really cool about that top that I got. Let me open it and show you. As you can still open this thing up just like a regular, oh, my clip fell down. Just like a regular RV fan hatch. You just spin it, pushes it right up. And even with the big little black thing that we got that's going to cover it, you can still open it and use it, and it don't get in the way, which is really cool. Another thing you're going to notice that I added, and I'm trying to do these things so that I don't forget to do them and then have to cut holes in the walls once the walls are up. I did put a 12-inch KingPin light right here. This KingPin light is going to be kind of like the front porch light. It's just going to be there so that we can turn it on from the inside on a wall switch and have a light to see to get in and out of the camper. I've got it right above the door so it'll shine down. And on the inside, we're going to have our switches here for the ceiling lights and the outside lights, and then I'll have a switch for the fan over there. We're going to have a switch for the fireplace. Everything that's wired up, I'm trying to plan ahead and be able to wire it up. Even the fan, see these wires hanging down here? They're all going to run to the fuse box, and I'm going to have a separate switch to turn everything on that's going to be in here. So I'll be able to kick the fan on by a switch of a button, just like the fireplace and everything else. Now, let me move these lights around. I'm having to talk to you guys while I'm holding these lights so that you can actually see in this dark basement. But now I'll show you how this is turned out. Let me get some light over here on it. And the kitchen is looking good. So there's a lot of steps that I had to do to get it to this point that's going to look like I didn't do a lot of work, but I actually did. So the floor, this is the original wood floor. This is the only thing we left wood out of the whole trailer so far. That's the only wood that's going to be in this trailer until we start adding the walls and stuff. But the wood actually stopped like right around in here where I had this frame ending. And I needed it to go further out in order to put these tracks on. Because if you remember, let's see if I can show you. Under the counter here, see these tracks? Where's my finger at? These tracks right here. These tracks are going to be what hides the door for me to open up and slide back and forth to get under the sink and get the fridge. and I needed a place to be able to mount the bottom track to actually, you know, accept the door panels that's going to slide in and out. So I had to cut a new piece of 3/4 inch wood. It ended up being like 1.5 inches long to be able to make it out. I capped that with 3/4 inch aluminum angle, and then I sealed everything. I painted everything. I got it all in place. And now, once I got that done, I was able to actually start bracing up the countertop and preparing to put the bench on. And I'm going to try to show you guys underneath. The lighting is not great. Let me grab a light. I'll just stick a light up under here. You can see I got everything braced up. So I got 1x1 square tubing. I framed out the sink, and I even went and added a few extra braces up under the bench here. So now the bench is permanently installed now. I used construction adhesive on the top of every, you know, square tubing that was holding it down. You can see some of the press out here. And then I just piled a ton of weight on here for a couple of days and just let it sit as it cured on there. Now this thing is completely sealed. When we build our walls up, the walls are going to cap off the edges, so it's going to be one nice smooth area. I got our sink installed. It's solid as a rock. It folds down, and it's got a little wooden countertop that drops in. I showed you guys a few weeks back, and it's on there now. I don't have the fridge bolted down yet because it'll actually be bolted down on top of the new floor when the floor goes in. But as you can see, I built it where there's just enough clearance still to add that floor, and we can still open it and close it, and it shuts right behind the door there. Now, I know this video is going to be pretty rough, and I apologize again. The lighting is horrible down here, and I just wanted to put together an update video to keep you guys updated with the progress of this. I know a lot of you guys are wanting to follow along with this build, and I'm trying my best to keep it up. It's almost Christmas, so every little bit of chance I get, I'll come down here and work on it a little bit, but I still work. You know, I got other things going on, so I'm trying to stay positive and keep this thing going out, and hopefully before spring gets here, we'll have the tin on it, and we'll be doing really cool stuff on the inside. I just have to also keep in mind to do things in advance. Like, I got to run all these wires and know where these wires are going so that I don't mess up and not install something, or install something first when I should have waited. That's why I've already got that KingPin light on the front door there, because I knew that I was approaching the time to start installing the walls on the inside. And if I didn't install that KingPin light and get that wire in there, it would have sucked to go back and have to do it later on and try to fish wires through the walls when I've got insulation on there already. It'd just be a pain in the butt. So I'm trying to think in advance, get all the wires where they're supposed to be, and then we can start doing stuff. Once the wires are in and we start putting walls and insulation up, this thing should come together pretty quick. So it's just this initial framing and cutting in the AC hole and all that stuff. That's the part that's going to be kind of tedious, and then we can get to the fun stuff later on. So I hope that answered a lot of you guys' questions. I'm, again, sorry for this rough video, but hopefully you guys are staying caught up with the build. And next video, we'll probably have the roof completely rubber coated, and I'll be doing insulation and wiring and stuff like that. So the cool stuff's coming. Y'all stay tuned. If you're new here, I upload every Monday at 6, and I will catch you guys next Monday at 6 o'clock.